Yo, what up, everyone? Tay here. And a lot to talk about in today's video. I'm going to try to keep it a bit on the shorter side, but I just got done watching the season finale of Daredevil Born Again Season 1, and I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of stuff I want to try to go through relatively quickly. Now, just real quick, my voice is a little bit off because I'm recovering from this brutal sinus infection I've had for the last 10 days. It's totally sucked. So I'm feeling better, but my voice is still a little bit messed up. So if you hear that, that's why. And then also, obviously, since we're going to be talking about what happened in the finale and what happened in the season in general, of course, there will be spoilers. So yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, just be forewarned that we are going to be getting into some specific details. And then also, before we get into it, make sure you watch until the end of the video because we do have some super thanks questions to get to from the last video. So yeah, watch until the end if you want to check those out. And remember that if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on this video, that those are always greatly appreciated and really do help out the channel a lot, and that I will read and respond to those in the next video.
I was raised to believe in grace. But I was also raised to believe in retribution.
All right, so let's just jump right into it. And to start off, before we talk directly about where everything is going in Season 2, first I thought I would just give a few of my thoughts and opinions on Season 1. Because I know there's been a lot of mixed reactions from you guys on, on the show in general, that a lot of people love it and a lot of people really don't like it. Earlier on, when the show was just a few episodes in, I was saying that I really loved the show and I didn't understand some of the hate out there that it was getting. And I would say that my overall reaction to the season in general is that I thought it started off really strong with the first few episodes, but then it definitely had some major hiccups in the middle, especially with episode 7, the Muse episode, which I thought was by far the worst episode of the entire season. But there was definitely some episodes in the middle that I thought kind of sucked. But overall, I thought it started off really strong, and I thought it ended really strong, which I was definitely very happy about, because with a lot of the past MCU Disney Plus shows, one of the biggest issues I've had with those is they end up starting off really good, but then as they go on, they end up getting a little bit worse towards the end and end up having these totally lackluster season finales with all sorts of issues that just kind of feel thrown together. And besides Daredevil Born Again, I would say the one exception to that is, of course, Loki, because Loki was the complete opposite, where the season finales of both seasons were just amazing. And as far as the finale of Daredevil Born Again, I thought it was really, really good. Not perfect. There was a few little issues I had with it, a few little nitpicks, but overall, it was probably the best episode of the season. And really, I thought it was one of, the best Daredevil episodes in general, even counting the Netflix Daredevil seasons. And after seeing the finale, I am really, really looking forward to what's going to happen in Season 2, which we're going to get into here in a second. Because I think by far the biggest issue that Marvel Studios had with this season was the fact that they had filmed about 4 episodes worth of material before the show got revamped, and they brought on Dario and Benson and Moorhead to kind of redo everything. And that Marvel Studios couldn't afford to just throw away those episodes that they had filmed, so they had to figure out a way to try to use that material in the new season, even though they were going a completely new direction with what they were doing with the overall plot. And you can see that in those middle episodes, like episode 4, the bank episode, and episode 7, the Muse episode, how they have a completely different feel and vibe compared to the best episodes of the season, which in my opinion were probably 1, 2, 8, and 9. So yeah, I thought it started strong and ended strong, but definitely had some major issues in the middle. So yeah, even though I like this season overall, I definitely think the biggest problem that Marvel Studios had is the fact that they tried to force in all of those elements of what had been filmed beforehand into their new version of the show. And that is why I am really looking forward to where they are going in Season 2, because Season 2 presumably won't have those issues because Dario and Benson and Moorhead are going to be there from the beginning working out the whole thing, and they won't have to deal with trying to shoehorn in all of this previously filmed material. So yeah, those are my overall general thoughts on the finale and the season as a whole. So now that we've kind of gone through that, now let's get into some specifics about the major new stuff that was set up in this finale and what the storyline is going to be for Season 2 and how it could also tie into other upcoming projects like the Punisher special and potentially even Spider-Man 4.
The episode ends basically with Matt declaring, he needs an army.
The dramatic beauty and also just the beauty of the tragedy of the season, and also the oddly emotionally satisfying, exciting thing about that conclusion is that the good guys lost. Matt Murdock lost. Fisk won.
All right, so if you watch the season finale, it included several really big references to where the plot of the story is going to go in Season 2, and probably even beyond that with Season 3, and maybe even some kind of big culmination crossover movie or show in the future. And ever since it was revealed that the plot of Daredevil Born Again would adapt the Mayor Fisk storyline from the comics, I think we've all pretty much known that where the plot of the Born Again series was likely heading was to an MCU adaptation of the Devil's Reign story. I mean, even Vincent D'Onofrio hinted at this himself at one of his con appearances last fall. And based on everything that happened in the season finale, it seems pretty clear that that is exactly what Marvel Studios are doing, that they are setting up a big Devil's Reign story that could span multiple seasons. Because one of the key plot elements that was revealed in the finale is when Mayor Fisk declares martial law and passes his new Safer Streets initiative, which immediately outlaws all acts of vigilantism. And this seems to be a clear step towards the Powers Act, which was something that Fisk passed in the Devil's Reign comic. And another big plot element that was revealed in the finale is how Fisk is also using an old law that designates parts of the city ports as a free port, thus exempting it from state and federal law, something that Fisk is planning on then using to create his own lawless enterprise with a new complex of casinos and hotels, which will surely be ran by organized crime syndicates working under him to help fund his new crime boss expansions now that he is mayor. And at this point in the show, we are basically at the all hope is lost point of the story, where the main villain is so powerful that he seems unstoppable to our heroes. But of course, we know that this isn't the case because when Matt is having a conversation with Karen, he says that all hope isn't lost because they can defeat Fisk, but that they need to raise an army to do so. And in the final scene of the episode, we see Matt walking into Josie's bar as Daredevil and giving a speech to a bunch of rogue cops and citizens who want to help him to take down Fisk. So it seems pretty clear that the whole plot of Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is really going to show how Fisk is becoming even more powerful as he implements even more authoritarian laws on New York, and how this will lead to Matt being able to assemble a sort of resistance army to help him take down Fisk and take back New York, just like what happened in the Devil's Reign comic. Because even though we only saw a few citizens and rogue cops in that final scene, it seems pretty clear that with Fisk enacting all of these new authoritarian laws, that this is likely going to trigger a cascade of old vigilantes and even new vigilantes coming out of the shadows to help take him on. And I know we didn't end up seeing a whole lot of big MCU cameos in Season 1 of Born Again. I do think there's a good chance that we could see at least one or two pretty big name characters pop up. Specifically Jessica Jones and maybe Luke Cage. because there's already been credible reports that Kristen Ritter has signed on for some kind of appearance in season 2 of Born Again, and that she's even currently on location in New York while filming is going on. We don't know for sure on that, but I do think there's a very good chance that Jessica Jones could play a small role in season 2, kind of like how the Punisher has played a role in season 1. And then I also think that Luke Cage would make sense because Luke Cage was actually a very important pivotal character in the Devil's Reign comic, because he was actually the one who ended up becoming mayor after Wilson Fisk and ran against him to help take him down. Now, I don't think we'll see Luke Cage run for mayor in season 2 because, like I said, I think they're going to draw this story out for probably at least 3 seasons. But I could see that being something they eventually get to in the future, because Mike Coulter has already said that he would love to come back as Luke Cage as well. And if that is a storyline they eventually plan on adapting, then it would make sense for Luke Cage to show up now so they can start planting the seeds for that. And don't forget, there was a little Easter egg to Luke Cage and his club in episode 1. And if this is all leading up to a big Devil's Reign kind of culmination event, I do think that eventually we will see a larger team come together to help Matt take down Fisk, very similar to what we saw in the comics. Now, in the Devil's Reign comic, there's like all sorts of heroes who get involved in that story, like the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. And of course, I do not think it will get that big. But there are a bunch of kind of street-level Defenders characters that we also see in that story that I could totally see coming together for some kind of possibly new type of Defenders team in the MCU. And honestly, maybe they won't even do the Defenders because the Defenders has already been done in the Netflix era. So maybe what they will do instead of the Defenders is more of a Marvel Knights kind of thing, which is basically, you know, a very similar concept, but could be a way to sort of rebrand that street-level Defenders type team for a new era of the MCU. Now, I don't know which characters we would necessarily see in a situation like that. You know, maybe we could see Misty Knight come back, maybe Colleen Wing, maybe a few new characters, and maybe if Marvel Studios can really make some magic happen, they could bring Spider-Man into the fold somehow. I really doubt he would appear in the television side of things, but who knows what they have planned for the future with, you know, street-level stuff in the movies and maybe in Spider-Man 5, something like that. But, you know, other characters like maybe Moon Knight or Clint Barton returning as Hawkeye, something like that. There are a few other big characters that they could bring into the fold eventually later on down the line in, you know, maybe season 3 or maybe even some kind of different culmination miniseries. Because that's another thing that I've wondered about is in the Netflix era, eventually Netflix culminated all of the different solo shows into the Defenders miniseries. And I do wonder if Marvel Studios might end up doing the same thing with this Devil's Reign plot they are playing out, to where maybe after season 2 or season 3 of Born Again, they could culminate it all in some kind of new miniseries where they bring all of these different street-level heroes together to take down Fisk once and for all. Now again, if they did that, maybe they would just revive the whole Defenders name and just do a new Defenders show. Or, like I said, maybe they would do something slightly different and they would call the show Marvel Knights or something like that. Because calling it something like Marvel Knights would really be a way to kind of brand this whole darker, more mature, R-rated, street-level side of the MCU into kind of its own thing, you know, its own corner of the MCU. And one of the reasons I actually think that this whole Mayor Fisk Devil's Reign story arc could play on for 2 or 3 years and could go on even after the multiverse saga is over as we get into phase 7 is because everything that's playing out with Mayor Fisk in New York in the Born Again story could actually be a bit more important to Marvel Studios' bigger plans for the MCU than we actually think. Because based on what Marvel Studios are doing with Daredevil Born Again and the Thunderbolts, it seems like where everything is going in the bigger storyline of the MCU is that they are actually paving the way for a new version of the Superhuman Registration Act that could come into play just in time for the Xmen movie in 2027 after the multiverse saga is over. Because if you've read the comics, you know that mutant registration has, of course, always been a big part of the X-Men story. And I do think that that will play a big factor in what Marvel Studios have planned for the X-Men in the MCU. And I'm not saying that Daredevil Born Again is going to play a huge role in setting up the X-Men or anything, but with Daredevil Born Again being a show that's going to carry on for multiple seasons, this does give Marvel Studios an opportunity to plant seeds for some of the bigger narratives and story arcs that they want to go for in Phase 7, even as we are going through all of the big, crazy multiversal stuff in Phase 6 with the upcoming Avengers movies. Because as we get into Born Again Season 2, Fisk's Safe Street Initiative could end up morphing into something more like the Powers Act. Because in the Devil's Reign comic, the Powers Act didn't just outlaw vigilantism, it was also a superhuman registration act to outlaw superhumans in New York in general. And if in Daredevil Season 2, we do see something like the Powers Act introduced, then eventually that could morph into a new nationwide superhuman registration act that could end up being implemented just in time for the X-Men movie. And I expect that this is something that we could see played with a little bit in the Thunderbolts movie as well. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think. Did you enjoy Daredevil Born Again? Did you find it to be a mixed bag? You know, let me know what you thought down in the comments down below. Like I said, overall, I definitely enjoyed it, but it definitely had some problems, especially in the middle. And hopefully those problems will be ironed out for Season 2, which I definitely think they will, because all of those issues with the revamp won't be a factor anymore. And I definitely trust Benson and Moorhead as directors, and, you know, hopefully Dario will do well as a showrunner and kind of fall into that role. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. But don't go anywhere just yet, because we do still have super thanks to get to. So let's jump into those.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's jump into these super thanks. And just real quick, again, sorry about my voice in today's video, guys. I know it's rough. Like I said, sinus infection sucks. So yeah, if you guys got all the way to the end listening to my hoarse voice, good on you. And sorry again. But yeah, let's get into these super thanks. And the first one we have is, as always, from the ever-reliable Gator Chris. Thank you, Chris. And then we also have 10 from one of my favorite people, Jeffrey. This one says, "Hey Tay, what's good, bro? I finally caught up to this point. I was like 4 vids behind. They've really picked me up these past few days. Daredevil Born Again is killing it out there, really enjoying it. I agree, bro. Definitely hopeful for the future of the MCU and Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. Proper enjoyed your Franklin and Wanda theories. Seems like it'll happen, especially with those leaks. And just wanted to say that I would definitely tune into a pod with you. The UFO stuff would be scary, but hearing more about you and your life would be awesome. The longtime fans are invested in you as a person, my G. Anyways, take care and stay super, bro." See why he's one of my favorite people? Wasn't that lovely? Thank you, Jeffrey. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm glad you liked the Avengers videos. Those are always some of the funnest ones to make. I love talking about the upcoming Avengers movies. I think especially because, you know, Hickman's Secret Wars and that whole Incursion saga is one of my all-time favorite Marvel comic runs. So I think that's especially why I have a lot of fun talking about the upcoming Avengers movies. So yeah, I'm glad you like those. And yeah, definitely been thinking about the podcast stuff a lot. But let's jump into this next one, and then I'm going to talk about that UFO stuff for a second. So yeah, the next one we have is one from Primo1147. And this one says, "Thank you for your videos. I'm sorry if this is a long one. I will tip again and ask questions on the next video. I've been a huge fan for years. I tell everyone about your channel. It's my favorite. I love your comic book knowledge and research. You are very dedicated and smart." Oh, well, thank you. "I never read comics, but I love the rich history and source material and social cultural analysis. And I would love for you to do a video on UFOs. I have always been interested. I always watch Joe Rogan episodes about UAPs like Bob Lazar and the Betty and Barney Hill story, the Travis Walton story. James Fox has a documentary called The Phenomenon that is well made. I also hope you start a podcast. I would definitely listen. Please make another video about DC and possibly Lord of the Rings if you're into that. Star Wars is basically cooked at this point. Love you, man." Oh, right. Thank you very much for that one as well, Primo. Another extremely nice one. Really appreciate it. And yeah, as I touched on in one of my last videos, I'm a total like UFO, UAP nerd. And yeah, like James Fox, that dude and his documentaries, especially Out of the Blue, which I think came out in 2009, was definitely one of the documentaries that really got me into UFOs back in the day when I was young. There was other things as well. I was always kind of interested in it, but that documentary in particular is what I can remember really kind of pushing me over the line to becoming a total UFO nerd. And yeah, I kind of touched on this in the last video. Like the reason I was kind of talking about possibly doing some videos on some UFO stuff is because of where I live. And I've never actually talked about this in any videos, but I actually live out in the Uinta Basin in Utah, just down the street. I mean, like just down the street from Skinwalker Ranch. Like I'm super, super close to Skinwalker Ranch. And for my whole life, I always lived in the city. Most of my life, I've lived in Salt Lake City, which is a really nice, cool city. I know it's got a reputation for being like Mormonville, but if you've ever actually been to Salt Lake, it's a dope city. And I really liked living in the city, but after everything that happened in 2020 and 2021, everything just got so crazy over the top expensive that I just couldn't stay living there anymore, especially since I didn't need to live there for work. So yeah, now for the last 2 years, I've lived out here just down the street from Skinwalker Ranch. And since I've been out here, I have seen and filmed some crazy UFO and UAP stuff. Like I've seen some crazy shit in the sky since I've been out here. And it's one of those things like, I'll talk about it with my friends and I'll feel comfortable. But it is something that is a little bit weird for me at least, to kind of touch on here on YouTube, because for one, of course, that's not what the channel's ever been about. It's always been about comic book stuff. But it is just a little bit weird to kind of start going into that territory, even though there are a ton of people that are into UFOs and it's something that's getting talked about in Congress all the time and it's more socially acceptable than it's ever been. It is still one of those kind of fringe topics that feels a little bit weird to kind of wade into for some reason. So yeah, something I've been thinking about a lot, and I'm putting this out there to kind of get some feedback from you guys if it's something you would actually watch, is doing some topics on some more UFO stuff, kind of like Christian Harloff. Christian Harloff started doing that, and I thought it was really cool. He has his movie channel, and then just because it was something he was interested in, he started also doing some UFO videos and talking about that. And that's something I've been thinking about doing. And then besides just talking about the UFO topic, something else I've been thinking about doing is I have like 6 or 7 pretty decent videos I've filmed out here on my phone of orbs and objects in the sky. So something else I've thought about doing is a compilation video of those different videos where I just kind of show them to you guys and walk through what happened when I saw them and stuff like that. And they are pretty low quality videos for the most part because I just have a Samsung Galaxy. I don't have a super amazing camera on my phone, and most of them are nighttime videos, which is definitely more difficult to get a good video out of. But I'll throw 1 or 2, short clips up of some of my UFO videos while I'm talking about this, so you guys kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. And yeah, you guys let me know what you think, if that's something you would be interested in watching if I put out something like that. Because yeah, I think it would be fun, and if no one watches it, then we'll just go back to the comic book stuff. And I'll always talk, about the comic book stuff. That'll always be the main topic here. But yeah, I did think it would be fun to maybe delve in, or at least dip my toe into some paranormal UFO stuff. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think about that, if you would watch that if I posted it in the comments down below. Give me some feedback. Let me know what's up. So yeah, thank you very much for that comment, Dario. Very, very nice of you. And yeah, James Fox is awesome. Love his documentaries. Good stuff. But anyways, then we have one more $10 one from Negative Ozane, who notoriously left the longest comment in Super Thanks history on one of my last videos. And this one says, "Hey Tay, first of all, I want to apologize for the first Super Thanks that I had left. I had no idea how long it was, to the point where it broke the record of your longest Super Thanks. I didn't even realize until you said that it had to take 4 screenshots. I do have another theory on Doom, however, and I'll try to keep this one on the shorter side and not break the record I set. Yeah, no worries, dude. It was fun. It was pretty long, but it was a fun theory. Like, I did have fun with that one, so no worries, man. But anyways, okay, so it says, for those of you who don't know, in the comics, Tony Stark isn't Maria and Howard Stark's biological son. Maria and Howard's unborn son, Arno, was dying due to a lung issue, and after he was born, he was put into quarantine and shut out from the rest of the world, which leads to the Starks adopting a baby, Tony, in Arno's place. And this had me wondering, what if in the MCU, the Starks had miscarried the real Tony Stark, leading to them adopting a baby from the war-torn country of Latveria and raising him as their own? And in the universe where the villain of Avengers Doomsday / Secret Wars was born, was a universe where the real Tony Stark is born safe, happy, and healthy, leaving the baby from Latveria to grow up in an orphanage where he excelled in all of his classes and graduated from MIT, where he met Reed Richards, then went on to learn the mystic arts, and ended with him avenging his family and country by taking back Latveria. This could leave the big twist of Avengers Doomsday being that the MCU never had a Tony Stark. What it did have was a Victor Von Doom in his place. And then when Secret Wars soft reboots the MCU, you can have the actor who plays the real Tony Stark in Doom's universe take Robert Downey Jr.'s place as Iron Man in the new MCU. All right, good stuff, man. I like this theory. I like your theories in general. They're overly detailed and long-winded, just like I am. But I really do like this theory. There could be something to this. Because, one thing it makes me think of is back in Avengers Endgame, there was a little moment when Tony was back in the 1970s talking to Howard Stark, where Howard says something about Maria. I can't remember exactly what it is, but Tony gets this kind of perplexed look on his face. And it's never said outright, but the moment in that scene kind of plays like it's a slight Easter egg or a slight nod to the audience about Tony Stark actually being an orphan in the comics. And like I talked about in some of my last videos, with the Russo brothers being the ones who are making the upcoming Avengers films, I do think there's a good chance that whatever the plot twist is with Doctor Doom, that it could tie back into the events of what happened in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So if they did have a little nod to Tony being an orphan in Avengers Endgame, like I'm thinking they might have put in there, then maybe that ties into their overall thinking of what their idea is for Doctor Doom in the upcoming Avengers films. And doing it like this would be a clever way to explain that Tony Stark connection and why Doctor Doom looks like Tony Stark, while at the same time still having a rational explanation for why Robert Downey Jr. is truly playing Victor Von Doom. So yeah, I think it's a good theory, man, and maybe I will even bring it up in a future video. If I do, of course, I will give you credit. So yeah, good theory, dude. I like it, and thank you very much to the rest of you for the very generous and kind super thanks today. Very nice of you all. And to those of you watching, remember that if you would like to leave a super thanks with a question or a comment on this video, that those are always greatly appreciated and that I will read and respond to those in the next video. So yeah, let's wrap this thing up. Let me know what you thought of Daredevil Born Again in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please leave a like, or even better, share the video. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to come follow me on Twitter and hit me up there if you have any topic requests or just want to come say what's up. All right, cool. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Sorry again about my hoarse voice, and I will be back soon with the next one.